said that Eric Spoelstra needed to reinvent himself. Specifically, what's your assessment of him in the finals?
Take stock. Take stock in what happened this year. Take stock in the last 4 years. Take stock in your offense. Take stock in your defense. You know, we were, you know, a top 5 defensive team. You know, he comes from a defensive family and background and tree, and so, you know, basically, I think we were down in the middle of the pack for most of the season. And, you know, I mean, if you want, you know, history, you know, shows you that anybody that's down that low very rarely ever wins a championship. So you got to do both. You got to have a dynamic defense first, okay, that rebounds the basketball, and you got to have a dynamic offense in today's game. And so Eric is he's a student. He'll go to work on this, and he'll study it, and we'll sit down and talk about it. You know, he's got somebody that he can talk to that knows something about coaching, and so, you know, I'm not going to make any decisions, but at least he can bounce things off of me if he wants to. And so, don't worry, he will reinvent himself in some way, shape, or form to help this team become better.
Pat, a draft question, if you don't mind. The big kid from Kansas, Iron said this morning.
We don't get him.
I know, well, you might know. He's out for a while with it. Is a big too risky for team? Not asking about 26, just in general. Is a big too risky if you have a 1, 2, 3 pick in the draft? Is a big too risky right now, just given how they just aren't panning out?
Well, I think it's not a big. I think an 18, just turned 19-year-old is risky as the top pick in the draft. I don't care who he is. I mean, unless it was LeBron or Kevin Garnett or Moses Malone. Give me a couple other names. Huh? Kobe. Unless there's about 4 guys in the history of the draft that came right out of high school or were that young that became superstars. And so, quite frankly, I wouldn't want to be in the lottery. I really wouldn't want to be, because it's a crapshoot. Now, there's a couple of guys every year that come out of the first round and they become great players, but I would much rather have a mature, you know, 25, 26, 27-year-old guy that, you know, might have been drafted first, didn't make it second round, and we pick him up, and he's, you know, he's developed. He's been through, you know, the mill. But because there is a draft and there is a lottery, and most of the kids are one-and-done kids, or maybe 2 years at the most, then you really don't know what you're going to get and how they're going to, how that's going to translate to the NBA. But to answer your question about bigs, when was the last time there was a great big? Anthony Davis is a power forward. You know, he's quite a talent. You know, so there's a few guys that have made it, but you know, to find the 7-foot centers, the prototype center, I haven't seen one of those guys out there in a long time. Go back and look at games 6 and 7, okay? And we all have our days, man. You know, we do. You know, Mario, God bless him. We don't win a championship last year without, you know, games 6 and 7, you know, with his performance. We don't beat OKC in game, I think it was game 4 when LeBron went down with a cramp. Was it game 4? Yeah, and he made a 3, and then he made a drive. You know, he's a player, and we have great respect for Mario, and he had a tough, rough finals, okay? And so a lot of players have had tough, rough finals. You know, go back and talk to Ginobili after last year's you know, playoffs, and so it's reason for him to get motivated, you know, and to get better. And so, you know, that's where we are with Mario. He's 6 years in the program. He's a starting point guard on 4 consecutive finals teams, and he has 2 world championships. He's got a pedigree, and so, but 2, he's going to have to take stock. He has to take stock in what happened, why it happened, study it, and come back better.
You gave a good perspective of these 4 years. Do you think the players share that? Do you have any idea one way or the other?
They will. I think they will. The message will get back to them. I think you leave them alone for 10 days, a week. You know, I left them alone all summer. You know, I never had exit meetings after we won. They were gone. You know, we only have exit meetings after we lose. That was brought up to me yesterday, by the way. And but you give them time. Just give them time to get those thoughts out of their mind, you know, of why they were inept, you know, why they didn't get it done, why they went from being a world champion to looking like a team that wasn't very good in the last 3 games, and that's the truth. and they played against a team that was playing at a very high level. And I think it'd be more important to find out what was internally going on with the Spurs than it was with us. I don't want to see what was inside of us anymore, and I don't think you will. And so, you know, I think they'll get the message over the course of the summer. And they'll get it loud and clear next year, too, in September.
So talent-wise, what do you think this team needs? General terms, obviously.
Well, you see, talent-wise, again, you know, all of a sudden people say, we need to improve at every position, you know. We need to get our core back, okay. We need to organically grow from within. The Spurs, after they lost last year, went home, licked their wounds, you know, went off into the summer, and they made one move. They got Bellinelli, who had a great year for him. Didn't have much of an impact in the finals except for 1-3 that he hit against us that was big. But it was Patty Mills from within the organization. It was Boris Diaw from within the organization. It was Ginobili being better at 35 years old this year than he was, you know, last year. And so, and it was Kawhi Leonard all of a sudden, you know, the bloom is off the rose, man. You know, from that standpoint, he was given the green light and he showed what he can do. And I think first and foremost we want to try to do that, but also whatever and what's available out there, Dave, is that will complement our players and our style is who we're going to go after. So you can always upgrade your talent. You can never have enough.
Pat, it's obviously very difficult to find high-quality players in their mid-20s at the mid-level. It's easier maybe to find a Shane or a Ray who want a place where they'll have success late in their careers. That said, would you maybe like to give more thought to adding younger players with the money you do have, with the exception money you do have, as opposed to going 32 age plus?
Well, he better be able to play. He better have proven that he can play and he's a starter or something like that. But the players that we decided on over the last couple of years that were, you know, in their prime and now they slipped out of their prime and also were, you know, absolute, you know, Ray was, you know, off the charts, you know, as an athlete who was 37 years old. I still prefer, you know, the in-prime veteran who simply, you know, wants to move, come here, win a championship, and who can still have a great impact on the team. And you take a look at most of the players on the Spurs, there are a lot of veteran guys on that team. There are 2 or 3 young players that they have. Yes, we would love to have players that we can get that are young that can grow into major roles.
Now, is it essential that the big three act in concert, or is it possible that one may opt in, one may opt out?
I don't know. Well, you know, it's a question I can't answer. You know, I mean, I think the important thing is that we want all 3 of them to come back. Now, if they come back at different levels, then fine. You know, we'll deal with that. You know, so when we have a chance to sit down on July the 1st and, you know, actually negotiate and talk to them, then we won't know that. So they don't have to be the same.
Where do you think your relationship with LeBron has grown over the last 4 years?
I'm an arm's distance, you know, guy. I was in the pit for a long time, and it's a texting relationship. It's a short meeting in the hallway or at practice or something. I don't bring him in for long dissertations because I think he would probably yawn on me in 5 minutes or 10. But I think it's born out of great respect. He knows I love him. He knows I respect him. And, you know, I think one of the important things about having a relationship with your players as a coach and or as a president is you don't pander and you don't punish. And there's a fine line in between. And there's got to be a tension between what it is you want as an organization and what it is that players want. Players today are different. You know, they're a little bit different in how they think and what they expect. But I've always felt that I've had a great relationship with LeBron and respect him very much as a great leader.
Last 2 questions.
Who was your exit meeting with
It was a good one, but you know he was restless. He wanted to get out of town with his family and go just decompress. And so we talked about 2 or 3 things, but I didn't want to get into any real specifics, about the conversation that he and I had personally. We never really touched on free agency or any of that stuff. It was like, I appreciated the 4 years. I appreciated the effort that he put in and his leadership. I appreciated, and we don't take for granted who he is, and I know how disappointed he was. He wasn't as dark as he was back in 2011. That was a whole nother meeting. And but I think he has a very healthy perspective about what it is that's in front of him and us.
What's your degree of optimism that all of the big three will be back?
Well, I'm an Irish guy that believes in big dreams, so I'm optimistic, until that's proven different. I just have a level of optimism that there isn't a better place for players to be.